Nasty.
Audible trial. Audible. Ew.
want to cover my ear.
audibletrial.com/talk it out. Join to access over 1,800 different audiobooks about anything from apples to zebras to cars to beer.
What kind of opening?
Or maybe about what? Sex education.
Yes.
That's our topic.
audibletrial.com/talk it out. So let's just get to it.
Please.
This episode is going to be about sex education and pretty much just our experiences with it, because we do live in the South, so we've had an interesting experience living in these Republican states, and we're just going to talk about that. We're going to give you some real numbers, some statistics, and tell you about just our experience growing up and learning about the birds and the bees. So, my question is, how old were you when you got the talk? And what was the extensiveness of said talk?
Okay. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So, basically, this is what happened. This little dog that we had was going through its thing, and it was in heat, the dog was, and it started humping, excuse my language, my little sister. And while me and my cousin were playing cards one night at my house, so I was like, ha ha ha, I was laughing so hard. I was like, the dog is humping my sister. Ha. And so then my mom says, how do you know what that word is? And pulls me into her bedroom and says, so how do you know what that word is? I was like, oh, I don't know. You know, I'm scared. Like, you get scared when they start giving you that talk. And so then she starts giving me this disgusting view in my head. And she's like, so when two guys, she never said that. She absolutely never said that ever. When
Progressive.
Right? My mom is progressive, psych. When a man and a woman love each other and they're godly and they're married, then the man has this thing, and she said the word, and the woman has this other thing, said the word, and the man inserts it into the woman. And I was just like, I was probably like 10, 11, after my period had started. So I was like, I started crying because it was traumatic. You know, like, I don't want that to happen.
Yes.
I bawled my eyes out. And she's like, why are you crying? Like, this doesn't seem perfect at all. I don't want that, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, it was traumatic for me. Never again. It was awful. Never again.
Okay, Joy, what about you? They cracked her up.
Like, oh my gosh, y'all. I'm ridiculously crying and laughing right now. It's hilarious. I don't think my mom gave us like a specific, we sat down and we talked about it, you know? It was more like it came up and she says, oh my gosh, this is what happened. Okay. It came up and she basically said a boy and a girl have sex, and they, she told me a girl has of a JJ and a boy has a Peter. I hate it when she called it that.
Peter.
Oh, can we talk about the names? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Finish your story first.
Hold on, I'm sorry. My mom called ours a monkey and a frog.
What?
Monkey was women, frog was men.
What?
A monkey and a frog.
Ew, that's like
traumatizing.
Exactly.
No
My
wonder.
point exactly. Like,
but back to my story before I was interrupted. So yes, I hate it when she called it Peter, but that's what she did. And she's like, a girl has a vajayjay and a boy has a Peter, and they have sex together. That was the first talk.
okay.
Then it was a talk, but it wasn't really an in-depth talk, like this is how it works. She just said it goes inside. And I never thought much about it.
Yeah.
But I knew what other people called a Peter, right?
Yeah.
How about one day, you guys, I was in the car and I don't know how it came up, but I said something. I was like, don't be or he would, or this guy is such a, and out of nowhere, I screamed the DICK word. And I was like, no, he's just a DICK. And my mama said, what? She turned, we were driving. She turned around so quick that the car like swerved a little. Ooh. My sister was like, buck-eyed. She was like, buck-eyed and laughing. And my mother said, what did you just say? And I was like, I said the D word. She was like, what? And I just thought, I don't know why, but I'm dumb when I'm startled. And I just said it again. And again. And she was just like, Joy, stop. Like, she said, oh, this is not the word you use. Anyway, so she went ballistic. Like, she was like, where did you learn that word? I can't believe you used that word. And I was like, what? My eyes just furred together. Like, my eyebrows furred together. I was like, what is wrong? That's just a word people say. Yeah. But no, she was like, that's not that word. Like, I couldn't even understand what she was saying. She was just like, I was like, I'm sorry, Mom.
Oh, my goodness.
But that's where our talk came in. And she was like, well, that's another word for a boy's Peter. I hate that word. And she's like, and they both do it, it goes inside and this is how it happens. But she never, like, I don't know. I guess that's all a parent has to do is tell you that a boy's thing goes inside a girl's thing. Because I don't know what I was expecting, but I was really naive about sex. Like, for real. Like, naive to the point where in high school, people would be making like sex jokes and I wouldn't get it. Or like we were in like biology or something and they would say something, or like, how you're in a group of people and they say something dirty and it's a laugh. But I'm like, huh? I was that girl.
Oh,
I was that girl. I was
You're
like,
still that girl. No shade, but you still go, who, what?
Okay.
The shade.
Okay.
Lord help us.
But I just didn't know what it was like all about. Like, okay, so what? A guy and a girl have sex. I mean, his thing goes in her. That's it. I didn't know, like, it was about a pleasure thing, or people do that, or it could be I didn't even know it could be a bad thing until I grew up and I learned about it through like media.
How old were you when you finally got the big picture?
What do you mean the big picture?
When you were finally like, oh, okay, now I get everything.
10 hours later.
I mean, I
She's still
think I always got the big picture because she told me what I needed to be told. This is a guy, this is a girl, this is what happens. But when I finally understood a lot of other things about sex, maybe, I don't know, because I still don't understand a lot about sex.
Exactly.
I do know that sex isn't something to be ashamed of, though. Like, a lot of people, because I'm curious and I have questions, I'm like, well, what is this? Like, okay, my friend, she had just had sex, and I was just like, okay, well, what is this? Is this? And she was like, why are you making this weird? And I was like, I just don't know. I just don't know. I was like, I don't know. But yeah, I guess I'm still don't know a lot about it.
Well, that's going into our conversation about sexual education.
Oh, you didn't tell your story.
I was literally about to do it. How old was I when I got it was a two-parter. So what happened first was in 5th grade.
Ooh.
They would do this thing. They would split the boys up and split the girls up, and they talk about puberty.
What?
And it's so funny looking back at it. Because when the girls' class, it was just like you bring your mommy in there, you and your mommy sit together. This lady brings you a big picture of this vagina, and then you talk about the parts of it, and then you talk about your period and like how that's gonna happen. You talk about how a baby's gonna be formed and your puberty and how what's gonna grow. But it was dead silent in there. In the boys' side. Everybody over there hollering, yes! They having a party. The girls, you could hear a pin drop. It was just, I was just like, I obviously was traumatized. All of us were traumatized because we're like, what? We're going to bleed? Well, some people already had their periods, but a lot of us just like, we're going to bleed for like almost forever.
It feels like forever, doesn't it?
And this and what? I'm going to grow hair and what? It's just like, I was just depressed after that. I was like, and we was just looking at the boys like, now what did y'all talk about? And why are y'all laughing? You know, and some of them kind of told us, some of them like a little too ashamed to tell us about it, but you know, we figured it out. But after that, my mom showed me the little sheet when we got home, and she was just talking a little bit about it. She was like, now, sex happens when two people are married and love each other.
Yeah,
and whatever.
Yeah,
and then I was like, well, what about so-and-so? She ain't married. Like, how did her baby come out?
As a child.
My mom was like, well, sometimes people do it that ain't married do it, but that's not how it should be.
Yeah, that's not how it should be done.
And then I was like,
yeah, I did get that
I still didn't really understand it because, like, previously I thought that eventually you get an age, maybe around 20-something.
And then you have sex.
No. And then you just get married, and then your body would automatically make a baby. And it just, after you get a certain age, your body would just get a baby.
Well,
and then
see, I knew you had to have sex skin.
I thought you just had to, lay down, and you never know, one day you might just get pregnant. But
Lord,
eventually,
I learned, you know, like I just thought that kissing was like this huge thing, and like once you kissed, you got pregnant.
Right? Yes. Did anybody tell you guys that if you kiss, you get pregnant?
No.
No one told me that.
They told me that. I don't know who told me that, but I legit thought I was pregnant at the age of 8.
Oh my God.
Because somebody, like one of those little boys, he kissed me on my like cheek or whatever, and I just ran away. I was like, no, I got pregnant. I went to my teacher just screaming like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And she was like, what? Like, hold on. Like, what's happened? I said, he kissed me and now I'm going to be pregnant.
No,
I said, where's the baby going to come from?
That's the thing. Like, I didn't ever understand that because they always used to say the baby is in your stomach. So I'm like, is it coming out your butt or what? Like, I never got that. And then finally my mom was like, well, it comes out of here. And I was like, how? But back to my story. That was the first part of the talk. The second part, I was in 6th grade. And this lady named Marilyn Morris came to the school. And what they did was the day before, they brought the parents and they kind of talked about what they were going to talk about. And my mom had bought a book. And I had dogged my mom. I was like, what did y'all talk about? Please tell me. Please. My mom was like, no. Please. And my mom was like, okay, look down there in that bag. So I looked down there. I opened that book and I closed the book and I went upstairs. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. I know what's coming next. And so we got to school. The lady came. And it was I went to a private school. It was a Christian school, so of course it's going to be an abstinence-only class. And so she was talking about, you know, when you have sex, it's like when you put some tape on your shirt and take it off and you keep doing that, you're going to be, you lose your stickiness. So when you get married, you won't have anything new to give your husband because you've been used. Ooh. And
sexism.
That was pretty much it. And like the thing was, it made me so uncomfortable because the verses, she had all kinds of verses for women, how they should be pleasing to the man, how they need to treat their man, how they need to do this and do that. She even brought up the song of Solomon, where, girl, She even brought up the Song of Solomon when Solomon was talking about that lady's breast, and she was like, "Yes, I know all the guys like that verse. They want, the women got the breast." I was like, "This is just so terrible. This is terrible." I went home. Then my mom opened up the book and we had to talk, and I cried. I cried the whole time. I just cried because it sounded so traumatic. It sounded so uncomfortable, and it was so awkward. The whole thing was awkward. We were in a dim lit room with me and my mama. It was quiet. My brother and my daddy went downstairs. It just was so awkward, and I just cried. I thought I was pregnant too, apparently, because I went to the bathroom and just cried. I don't know. I'm just traumatized. Anyways. It was terrible. But that was my experience, and I think it's a common theme for all of us, that we all were a little bit traumatized a little bit because maybe we didn't get the full story of it because they really didn't talk about the pleasure part or anything like that. It was just like, this is just something you're going to do. The man is going to shove his thing up inside of you.
Well, see, it wasn't explained that way to me. It was just like, okay, it goes inside here and this is what happens. And I think because it was such a general picture, it left me with like a broad question. Yeah. But it also closed like a lot of the, hey, this is it. This is what you do. This is it. It wasn't mentioned until later, but that it was a in-depth kind of, we had a in-depth kind of conversation a couple years ago, like like in high school, should I say. And it was in depth, like, hey, this is what happens. It's for the girl, for the boy. Yeah. They say even though it feel good. My mom used to say, even though it feel good, it ain't good. She was like, it's gonna feel real good in his and their Peter, but when that baby coming, you that ain't gonna feel too good.
But
Peter,
Lord help us. The next question, because Joy is having a hoot.
She up here, and she need to kind of be down here.
I'm so sorry.
Here's the next question though.
Hold on, I want to bring up how, because I'm thinking about how all of our parents, they kind of were like, well, this is a penis, this is a vagina, it just goes in. Like, it wasn't inclusive. How come no one told us, maybe it's because how our parents were raised and how they feel about certain things. But I feel like for my own kids, that I want to be like, sex is broader than just a man and a woman. There are trans people in this world. Mm-hmm. There are gay people in this world. There are lesbian people in this world. And what they do is sex too, because a lot of times, we go to those type of people, and I've been in those situations where they've came to those type of people, like gay and lesbians, LGBTQI, and you get these invasive questions.
Could they just simply be curious?
No, I think that's rude. Like,
if we don't have an open dialogue for communication,
I'm not Google.
That's like race issues. If people don't, if you ask, well, is this really affecting the black community, or do white people really feel this way about black people?
But no, here's the thing. It's different. It's the same.
Different.
No, listen. It's like you just coming up to some random lady and saying, "So how do you and your husband have sex?"
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Even if you're my coworker, you don't really talk about that.
Look, I will talk about it.
You just gonna come to a little elderly. How did you and your husband have sex?
If we was having a conversation and it came up,
if you were having a conversation, but just like bring it up.
That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, so my work. Everyone knows that I'm really like into social justice at my work because they see my Facebook and everything like that. But we have 2 trans people there, and they always, like, whenever these trans people first came in, they always came to me and they were like, "So how do we address them?" And I was like, I don't know. Why don't you ask them? Like, it's not that hard to go up to them and be like, what pronouns do you like me to use? Or they've also came up to me and been like, so how do lesbians have sex? Or how do 2 gay men do this? Why do they like it in this and not this? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, that's them. That's their bodies. That's how they like it. That's how they do this and this and this. Why don't you Google these questions? Because there are plenty of forums and blogs and Facebook articles, clickbait articles at that will give you these answers without you having to go to your coworker randomly asking invasive questions about other trans people or gay people's lives, you know?
So
And
you pretty much think that well, here's the thing. What I was finna go into is most of us get our sex education not from our parents, but from our peers and maybe from school and from the internet. Yep. So, people aren't even getting education on just regular, bland straight people. Like how they gonna get how they gonna get education on all these different genders and like what everybody like and all these different types of intercourse and all these
we
different
are
types
just
of
told
arousals.
Because even the internet doesn't answer everything, you guys. Like if you look up the word trans, it just says these big words that you have to go look up. Like it says, let's see, transgender, denoting or relating a person whose self-identity does not conform unambiguously to conventional notions of male or female gender.
Well, if you don't know the words, get a dictionary.
Exactly. Like, I don't feel like it's just like it's not a black person's place to educate me on why it's not okay to use the N-word. I don't think it's LGBTQAI's place to educate what these certain things are. I don't think it's my place. Like, I have gotten into so many Facebook arguments about like why I feel like, and this is completely off topic, but why certain people do certain things, and like I just don't feel like it's my place. You're a grown adult. If you have a phone, then you can Google anything, regardless.
I also don't think it's anything wrong with the question.
Of course you don't, because you probably ask those. But to me,
I sure do. If I need to know a question, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, but I'm only gonna do that with somebody I know, but somebody I'm close to. I'm not gonna go up to a stranger.
That's the thing. We're not talking about like your best friend. We're talking about a coworker. As soon as they figure out they come to you asking you 1,000 questions like you, Webster.
I don't know. Is sex education, I don't think it's inclusive. And that's what I'm saying, is that sex education isn't inclusive to LGBTQAI, and it does not say, we are just so based on heterosexual sex that we don't do anything else other than that. And I don't think that's right.
Well, can I ask even do that now?
Right. No, because you're going to Google it.
Ooh. Well, Gabby, can I ask a question? What's AI?
Depends on what. A stands for asexual people. I stands for intersex people, aka people that have like two genital parts.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know.
Or just
AI was added.
But
see, that's
we brought
thing.
This whole
that's
because this episode is gonna get too long. I'm going back on topic. We're talking about sex education in schools, and we're gonna get to these statistics now. So, back to sex education in school. Everybody talk about what they told you in school. Now,
nothing. They absolutely.
Did I tell y'all nothing?
No. Okay, well they did. They gave us Okay, so the health clinic came into my school. This was during science class, and the health clinic told us that basically, and granted, this wasn't a health clinic in my city. We did not have a health clinic in my city. We had a health clinic in the city over, and so the city, like 10 minutes away from me, they brought their health clinic to us. And so we had that, I don't know if you guys had it, but we had that discussion where they laid out a mattress or a blanket on the floor, and they put, let's say for instance, they would put me in the middle of the floor, and then they put like one of my guy students that was in the same class as me, and they were like, okay, well, these two people had sex. And then from there, they would say that the guy had sex with one of the other students in my class, a girl. And so then they would say, now KT has had sex with the guy and the girl. and what the guy didn't know is that the girl had AIDS. And so then they added another person in, and they were like, now the guy has had sex with 2 people and KT has had sex with 4. And so then they were just like,
Yeah, they had
And
like
now-
those experiments with like one person would have the STD, and
Yeah.
then you have to mix the water and see how many people ended up getting the STD.
And now all of these people have had sex with me in the in the middle of the blanket, you know. And then they also, after they did all that, and they shamed all the girls, you know, all the women were shamed.
Yeah, I hate
we
that.
all were
I hate
whores,
that.
and we were sluts. We all just did the do with everyone. But men, they could have sex with as many as they wanted to, and they were okay. But after that, they showed us pictures. They like passed around pictures of genitals with types of STDs.
Ooh.
And so we all got to see pictures of Blue Waffle. And
I never saw Blue Waffle, thank the Lord.
I did.
Sends the pic to you.
Gross.
No, you know, we all got to see those pictures and how gross it was. And we're like, oh, we're never having sex. You know, we basically got taught abstinence.
Yes.
That's exactly what we were taught. We were taught abstinence, not sex education.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Joy?
I wasn't taught anything in school.
They didn't say y'all didn't have health in class.
We had
school?
health and wellness,
Y'all never have that,
but we did PE and talked about. We did go over STDs, but it was like I was in ninth grade in ninth grade, and they were like health and wellness, and they was like it was basically work. Fill out this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
America has this many STDs or something like that.
Just about STDs.
Or this is HIV. They basically it was the definition of each STD, and then we had to match it, and that was it.
Well, that's lame. I mean, we had that too, but it was deeper than that.
That wasn't even fun. Like, but yeah, with mine, I went to the Christian school again, but we did have one day where our PE teacher, we could write questions on a little sticky note. Anything we wanted about sex, and she would answer it.
Oh.
So the main questions were just like, did it hurt? How was it?
I heard it does.
Whatever.
Never mind.
I mean, we can maybe get some information. But yeah, it was just pretty much the totality of it. But that reminded me of something. They're looking at the STDs, because tell me why I'm putting my mama on blast. But the day before I went to college, she went on the computer. We were in my bed, laying across the bed. She went on the computer and looked up every single STD ever created, and looked up the images and tried to get me to look at all those STD infected genitals, and I didn't look at not one, but she still read through the symptoms and everything, I guess to deter me from any promiscuous behavior in college.
From being a thought.
Which it did. It did work. It worked. So
Psych.
I wouldn't recommend doing it, but it worked for me, so whatever. But yeah, it's just funny because this goes back to the abstinence, and something I want to tie it in to wrap this all up into is when we look at the statistics, which I've been looking at, the top 3 cities in America as far as STDs are concerned, I think St. Louis is number 2. West Memphis, Arkansas is number 3, which is right across the bridge.
Shout out to West Memphis.
The first one is someplace in Texas. Now, what do all 3 of those have in common?
It's the South.
They are in the South. Now, what do southern
states...
She
sounds like a news report. They are in the South.
What do southern states normally vote? Republican or Democrat?
Republican.
Ooh. What do Republican
Abstinence.
I'm asking a question. What do Republican candidates campaign on? Do they campaign on abstinence only, or do they campaign on safe sex?
Abstinence.
They campaign on abstinence only education, which would be why all 3 of us had similar experiences as far as learning about sex education
in schools.
All of it was about the STDs and abstinence only. No, did anybody have anybody coming and talking about condoms, how to put on the condom, talking about
yes, we did.
You did?
We did. Oh, I'm sorry, podcast with my hands in the air like I'm in school still.
Go ahead.
It was a DARE program. Drugs.
Okay, so it wasn't health. It was a DARE program, which is
DARE
so
or,
messed
or
up.
GREAT, whichever one of those.
That's awful.
Or program. But they came in and they got oh my gosh,
a banana.
Yeah, it was no. I don't even
Cucumber.
know. I want to say a banana, but then maybe that's like my TV experience and I'm a real life experience. But I know that I know it was a bunch of condoms one day. That's all I remember. I don't remember
anything
what we talked about, but I do know it's like boxes of condoms and the guys and girls were playing with it because it was like wet or something.
Yeah. But the thing with that, DARE is a national program. That wasn't anything that was just like state sanctioned. So it's still my argument still stands. Nobody was talking about contraceptives or safe sex practices or things like that. What is it, Katie?
Can we just talk about, I don't know if this kind of plays into sex education, but like our health system she was talking about how they brought in condoms and stuff like that. But I never, ever, ever got told about my own period. And I had to basically learn on my own. I thought I was dying when I first got my period, And so, like, no one ever said anything about that, but everyone says things about males ejaculating and stuff like that. Like, you never
Like, they teach a boy how to do that, though.
That's what I'm saying. They don't teach women anything about our own vaginas.
Yeah.
They don't teach women, they don't have free pads. Pads are actually taxed.
Yes.
And
is it a luxury?
as a luxury item.
Yeah.
And so it's like pads and tampons.
And
so
they're
I
necessities.
Feel like they're necessities,
so,
right?
Yeah.
And even on days, I was reading, even on
Is
days,
deodorant a luxury item?
even on days that they have the tax free and stuff like that, they still do taxes on tampons and pads because they are a luxury item. And here's my thing. My thing with that is, like, even though they are necessity, like Gabby was saying, they're absolutely necessity for you to have if you have a period. And I just don't feel that that's right. They can give out free condoms, but they can't give out free pads, even to just the poor and stuff like that.
But just a couple. I don't even need a whole box. Just give me like a couple of pads, maybe like 5.
I'm gonna tell you, whenever I was really, really poor, when I was super duper poor, and like I wasn't barely eating, I was so poor. I actually went on every single month onto the internet, and most of the time, like Tampax and Kotex, they have free samples. Now, these free samples, you only get like 2 pads, but if you get it from every single person, like every so often, then you're straight. Like I wasn't buying pads or tampons or nothing.
What the hookup?
Yep. But I mean, it's just not fair that they shun vaginas,
But yeah, condoms are necessary. Pads are, but that is like how Obamacare is paying for. Don't they cover Viagra?
No, actually they don't. Because I worked in healthcare. I actually worked with Affordable Care Act plans, just so everyone knows. So if you have any, you need some help picking out a plan, just hit me up. $50 a piece. Anyway, I.
Talk about Viagra.
So contraceptives are preventative service, but only some of them, and it has to be basically like FDA approved. But here's the thing with contraceptives. So if you get one inserted in you, the insertion is preventative, but if you have to have it removed because it's affecting you or anything like that, that's not preventative and you have to pay for it.
What?
Also Viagra, I want to say, if it's medically necessary, most of the time with the plans that I worked with, which I worked with Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield all over the country, California, Colorado, blah, 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 blah. Those plans, Viagra most of the time was not considered medically necessary for you to have. Thanks to Affordable Care Act, a lot of things like contraceptives and preventative services are finally becoming available. But the thing with that is that if anything is wrong with you during those visits, then they could still be potentially not paid for. Because they can diagnose that as like a diagnostic visit or a visit where something was found and it was wrong. So it's no longer considered preventative it's at that point considered diagnostic, so you could be charged. Right. And so, like, there are some
Healthcare.
loopholes, and we could definitely get into healthcare, but
We'll do an episode on that. But I want to bring it back to my point. My point was that in these southern states, Republican ruled, they teach abstinence only, yet have the highest rate of STDs. And Mississippi has the highest rate of teen pregnancy, a Republican run state which teaches abstinence only, has the highest teen pregnancy
I
rate.
feel like this is a political
And
message.
nobody, no, it's just it's a policy debate, because you don't have to be Republican to believe in abstinence only, because the thing is, I don't think they ever correlate the two. Like, if you're only teaching abstinence only and you're not telling people about condoms or other contraceptives, people gonna have sex. Now, you teaching that is not gonna stop that. But
That's
what
I
are
said.
stopping is people from, you are making it more
Easier to get pregnant.
Easier to get pregnant and STDs, because they don't know
Ooh.
about how to prevent that.
you're right. Can we talk about, like, abortion and how
I was
that affects
literally
that?
going to bring
You were
that
going
in,
there.
but
Okay.
Joy
Okay.
wanted to say something.
Sorry.
I told my church one day, Church of Christ, and it was a while ago, but I think I was like graduating high school, or finna graduate high school. But I said that we were talking about sex one day, and abstinence and how you're supposed to save yourself, and I was like, yeah, I get it. But most kids in reality are not, well, not even kids, but most people are going to have sex. And I was like, so I was asking, do we have, like, does our church give out condoms? I was wanting to know. And she was like, no, because we don't support sex. I was like, well,
Support sex.
what she said, we don't support
Out of marriage, yeah.
at premarital
Yeah.
sex. And I was like, well, that's great, but so do you support, like, teen pregnancy? And she was like, no. I was like, well, aren't more people getting pregnant because they're having sex? And she was like, yes. And she's like, well, I said, well, isn't a condom like 90% preventative of a baby? She was like, yeah. I was like, so if we know that our kids are going to go, even our Christian kids are still going to go out and do that, why are we taking a risk and letting them, like,
because they're trying to stand on principle just to say they're standing on principle, even though it's not helping.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's like leaving a blind man in the street.
Right.
That's ridiculous. And I said as such. And sometimes you have to be that voice, even if you're not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
You have to say something about it.
Just put that out there in the universe.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree. And to bring it back to what KT was talking about, so during the debate, there was a question that came up about Planned Parenthood, and Donald Trump pretty much said, he's pro-life now, and he's going to elect pro-life Supreme Court justices that are going to uphold.
Now, what do you mean now?
Because he's been pro-choice like forever, but he's going to elect pro-life justices that are going to overturn Roe v. Wade or whatever. But so it became like a debate on Facebook, of course, because this was the only thing that the evangelicals were grasping on to try to defend voting for Donald Trump. So now it's become a abortion debate or whatever. And I listened on Urban Talk Family Radio, which I hope we can get on that show one day. This guy was going in, like, I think he was like gonna have an aneurysm. That dude was so intense about abortion. They do this and they do that and they that and that. And I was like, that's fine and dandy. But here's
That's
the
how
thing.
you know when somebody from the South is, like, not agreing. Well, that's fine and dandy.
Well, that's just fine, and dandy, ma'am.
I'm not one of those people that, I don't know, I believe everybody should have a choice, but it kind of just make me kind of a little uncomfortable thinking about abortion. But this guy, he's so adamant about no abortion, no, and the woman does not have the right to abort the baby. I don't care how old the baby. I don't care if she just had sex. And I was like, okay, so you're telling me now, since I know you just abhor abortion, that you are going to be the first one going into these high schools passing out condoms, telling girls to get on birth control, telling the boys
To
about
wrap it up.
I know you will be the first one, because that is the number one thing we can do to stop abortion, not letting people get pregnant in the first place. But no, that's not true. They will not, because they say that they don't agree with that because they're encouraging it. And I don't think you're encouraging it, because if somebody doesn't want to have
Oh,
sex,
you should see Gabby's face right
if
now.
somebody doesn't want to have sex and you give them a condom, they're not going to look at the condom and be like, well, I was thinking about not doing it, but now that I have this condom, I think I'm going to find somebody to have sex with.
That doesn't
No.
happen.
What you are doing is you're giving, if somebody don't want to have sex, they're not going to use it. If somebody does want to have sex, you giving them is maybe going to be the thing that's going to stop them from getting pregnant and stopping them from going to Planned Parenthood, which you hate so much. So I just think for these pro-life people, if I saw them working towards sex education that was comprehensive and that was informative and teaching people about not getting pregnant, I would be more on their, I would understand them a little bit more. But they just seem real hypocritical, and they just seem to be hollering and screaming
They're basically saying,
with no real answers.
here's a plate of food, but I know you're starving, but don't eat it.
Don't eat it, and then if you get full and you want to poop,
Don't
Too
go to the
bad.
bathroom.
So bad. There's no bathroom
hold,
available.
or you want to fart, hold in the fart, like.
And that's
Yeah.
toxic. If y'all ever know, that's toxic. Like, don't do that ever. You kill yourself.
Literally and figuratively. Yeah, don't hold
like
in your poop.
literally and figuratively.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think you're completely right. Like, abortion, people who are against abortion, I feel like they have this stigma. Like, they just think we're just awful people and we just want to kill babies, and all babies, we just want them to die. And then my thing is, like, instead of us aborting them, instead they want us to give them up to adoption, but they don't know anything about adoption in America at all. And like, there are so many children who don't get adopted, who end up in the system, who stay there until they're 17, and then they don't get adopted, and they don't have a real life. They never had a family. That affects them mentally, physically. That affects them for the rest of their
Or
lives.
worse, they have the baby, they keep the baby knowing that they didn't want a child,
And then they can't
abusing
take
the
of it.
raise the child
Yeah.
and abuse
Yeah.
them, or abuse them, or neglects them, or it doesn't do what they're supposed to for them. And then you're upset with this mother, but she's the one who felt pressured to have this child, because
Yeah.
we're teaching our men that they're not responsible for the children that they
Exactly.
produce.
And if she would have had a condom in the first place, she wouldn't even had the baby.
Boom.
Everybody gets free condoms. I'm just gonna go to the street
and
and
pads
just throw them out.
and tampons. Like,
and
I'm
pads and just throw
everyone.
Them.
We should
Also,
really
I
do that,
kinda
you guys.
I don't.
We should do that. Talk it out. Talk it out. Condoms
Talk
and
it out.
pads.
Oh
my
pads
God.
and pads
and what do you call those? The tampons.
Tampons.
Yes.
Yes,
That would be
branding,
perfect.
Branding.
You see, in podcast world, you saw who came up with that, right?
Because edit this out. I watched a video on Facebook. It was really, really informative about how homeless people, especially women, homeless
pads.
women don't have pads and tampons, so they have to like make their own, or they use like anything that they can find. And I really want to do that. Like, I want to
We
go
should do
give
that.
out like
We're gonna do
pads
that.
and tampons.
Let's do that, especially like doing
all
when
we
it's gonna
gotta
get
do
cold
is
and
get
stuff. Yeah.
stickers. Your dad would be able to print those
Yeah,
out
to get
so
stickers
easily.
with our
and we can just put them on a
information,
pad.
yeah.
information.
We could put them on a pad or a tampon. It would be super easy.
I think we should do that.
Yes.
And then pads don't cost that much.
Go
We
to
can
the
buy
Dollar
them in
Tree.
bulk.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. What was I saying previously?
I don't know.
Okay,
what
so
you
can
said.
we
It's
talk about how, like,
I wanted to talk about the abortion.
I know this is
Oh,
still
okay,
about
go ahead.
abortion.
Oh,
This
okay.
is still about abortion. About how the abortion, like, I don't know if I'm maybe getting this mixed up in my head, but how in black neighborhoods, like, there's a lot more Planned Parenthoods and stuff like that. And so I feel like that kind of is oppression in a way, because we have people like 19 kids and counting, 34 kids and counting, whatever it is, and they're out here, these white people are out here having multiple kids because the Lord says it's great. But then we have those same people oppressing black people and poor neighborhoods and Latino people because they have like 3 kids, and
They saying you got
too many kids, and all she got is welfare. Right.
And like the Duggars are on welfare. Like those white people, 19 kids, they're all on welfare. So like,
have you seen their house? Have you seen their house?
Yes, they're on welfare because they have all those kids. They're just like tax write-offs.
Oh my God!
You pop some.
Yeah, but if you have over 2 kids, then you get more for your first 2 kids than you do for the other ones.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why a lot of people claim other kids on their taxes. But
I'm
that's
just
another
kidding.
topic.
I would never have, Anyway.
Another topic.
But yeah, what were you saying, Joy?
But yeah, as far as abortion and my point of view on it, I when I was little, before I really understood what it was about, I was like, I can have an abortion. I'll get rid of it. I was like, but I didn't know what I was saying. Uh-huh. And they was like, well, it's alive. It's alive, Joy. And I was like, oh, okay. But, I was like 12. Mm-hmm. But when you understand what it's about, oh my God. And in high school, we watched the video.
I y'all watching the abortion video.
No. We watched the
Propaganda.
video, and this lady said that she paused the movie and said, well, I can't play it anymore. Do you want to get up here and do it? And so happened, I just happened to be the only one in the classroom. Uh-huh. And everybody else was gone. I didn't feel like going. I don't know why I didn't go because this could have saved me this traumatic event. But I said, oh, okay. And it took me a second to get that she wanted me to press play. Mm-hmm. So I pressed play. How about it was the most horrific thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
What was it?
It was a video of a woman having her abortion. And it just, oh my God, even right now, I can remember my emotions. It felt horrible. Like you saw little feet and little hands and it just freaked me out. But even saying all that, my choice right now, I would not have an abortion. But I do understand why people have them. And I don't agree with criticizing someone because they do have one. Like I said, my choice right now, I would not have one. But who knows what's going to happen in the future? Who knows what will happen and me say, oh my God, I never thought that this would happen. I'm not going to say never.
So you're pro-choice.
People who are pro-life think that people who are pro-choice don't care about babies. People who are pro-choice think that people who are pro-life don't care about the women. I am pro whatever.
You're pro-choice. If you wouldn't do it yourself, but you don't care if other women do it, then you're pro-choice.
Technically, I am. Technically,
you're pro-choice.
You just don't like the term.
I don't like the term pro-choice because it feels like it's a stigma that says you don't care about a child's life.
What?
But it is. It is.
Propaganda.
It is. Propaganda. And I feel like I don't. Why should I have to choose of being pro-choice or pro-life? I feel like I'm pro. Do what is right for you, which technically is pro-choice. But I'm just saying.
Okay, just don't use the word. If it's gonna hurt you, don't use the word.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pro-choice. I'm definitely pro-choice. I don't care. It's your body. Do whatever you want. And there's so many people that are like, that's not their body. That's someone else's body. But
whose body?
I feel like
because
it's that woman's body.
It's not people who talk about abortion and who are saying that it's wrong based on a religious matter. Everybody knows who's heard this podcast that I am religious. I'm the girl. Go to church every Sunday. I believe in God. You can't tell me anything about, that God's not real or anything like that. But I also believe that there is supposed to be a separation from church and what? Politics? State, church, and state. And state is what? Everything governmental, political, all of that, right? So if you're telling me, the government's telling me that, hey, I can't have an abortion because it's against God's law. Hold on, wait, huh? I thought it was a separation of church and state.
Right. And my only qualm with it is, because you were talking about separating church and state, I'm trying to remember my train of thought. Oh, so I'm like, so you would rather have women risk their lives to have an abortion. So you would rather have the woman potentially die.
That's the whole reason why abortions are available now.
And I've heard people say, well, they were going to commit a sin, so whatever happens. I'm like, that is the most terriblest thing I have.
And you
ever
call
heard.
yourself a Christian.
And you're supposed to be a Christian. Like, what?
Or religious, or whatever, whatever.
It doesn't make sense. Like, it's the principle. Sometimes, like, people hold so tight onto a principle where they just stop making sense, and they just
exactly. Like when I do, I'm guilty of this, but most of the time it'd be about unimportant things. But I will say, hey. Basically, it's the principle of the matter, and I'm not gonna change my answer. But at least I know that. If you're not willing to admit that, then shut up.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this.
And oh my gosh, I don't know if you know, but it was some. I don't know some. Do you remember when we were at school, Gabby, and they were having this? Even if you get raped, that you can't have an abortion.
What
amendment?
Oh yeah. No.
Amendment 1?
Amendment 1.
Yes. And that is crazy to me.
Crazy.
To tell a woman who didn't have sex willingly and became pregnant that she can't have an abortion because a man forced himself on her.
Right.
Throws up.
Is
trigger warning.
Crazy.
Because they're like, the baby didn't do anything. Well, the woman didn't do anything.
But neither did she.
Exactly.
So you're telling me that a person who's raped should have to suffer more than they're already suffering because you want to hold on to
the principle,
a primitive principle.
A principle, yeah. Like I just.
But had that been I don't know. Name a politician who's very adamant about that.
Let's see. Anybody.
Donald Trump's daughter, if she was raped and got pregnant and said that she didn't want that baby, he would do everything in his power.
Oh yeah.
To make sure that she didn't have to have that baby.
What if one of these white pastors got their daughter, trigger warning, got raped by a black man, and she had to carry a black baby, and she had to raise their black. They would not let that happen. They would say, they would be real quiet about it.
Well,
like, I don't have this or something like that. But they would not let. I don't think they let their child. I don't think they let their child live in their family or live. Period. I don't think.
Oh, did y'all see that movie where it is a white lady married or had sex with this black man? She had the baby and he gave the black man the black baby up for adoption to this white family, to this black family, and she ended up having to go back home, but she was like really good at the piano. She had to be good at something, in the movie. Anyway, she was really good at the piano, and she's like, the white mother said to her, I'm sorry, because the person who she was with, who she called mom for like 18 years of her life, was dying.
Oh, okay.
And she was like, the white lady basically told her, I never wanted you. The only reason why I had you is because I knew I could get something for you. And mommy cut me off. But I'm so glad to see you turned out okay. I'm like, what? But anyway, in the movie, the grandmother, the white grandmother, and the daughter, the black granddaughter, ended up getting very close. And she was like, I didn't want her to have you at first. And I'm so ashamed of that. But they got together. Just a quick side note.
Okay, off topic, but cool.
Yeah, quick side note.
Yeah, so let's wrap it back up. So yeah, this was about sex education in the South. And I think we kind of touched on most of the bases that we want to talk about. I don't think most of us, no matter where you're from, get an accurate portrayal of sex, especially from our parents. I think it's just they feel kind of awkward about it, and you feel kind of awkward about it, and yeah. So we end up getting most of our information from our peers and the internet. And the internet, that's something I'm not really scared about for my children, but it's just something you have to kind of keep in the back of your mind.
You have to have ratings. You have to let your child know what they can and cannot do.
Yes, but even then, like, you can just get on Facebook and something pornographic pops up. So I think
I don't think children should have social media, side note, until like 12 or 13.
I agree, though. Yeah, but even if they're 12 or 13, they still might find something. So yeah. I think even if you're a parent, you just gotta suck it up, or get your sister, your brother, or somebody. Make sure you see what they're gonna say, but get them to just really, you ain't gotta get all deep into it, but just make sure you
have
outline
access
everything. Talk about consent. Talk about what is right, what is okay, how things happen, how you get pregnant. Talk about getting drunk.
Yes, because like that goes into with the consent. Because if you're teaching your child about consent, but you don't teach them, hey, if you get drunk, that's not consent.
Yeah.
Then that's on you, and that's leaving a child confused. Like, is this right or this wrong?
Exactly. But yeah, just total comprehensive, and it doesn't have to be in one day. Obviously, you're going to be living life and
for 18 years in the house.
But yeah, I think that's important, and I mean we've all turned out okay. I don't think we've been traumatized from what we've gotten, but I think it could have been done better, and I think I will try to teach my children better.
Yeah, everything could be done better.
Yeah,
in life, the whole goal of having children is to make them better than you.
Yep, and so they can make you a lot of money, and you can retire early.
Yep, and live in a big old fancy house.
I agree. So, did anybody else have anything?
Nope.
That's it. Okay,
yep.
So
wrapping it up.
Yes, wrapping it up. Sex education. audibletrial.com/talkitout.
Yeah.
Do they have books on sex? I think they have books on sex. I don't know if it's exactly about sex education, but you can check. Check it out. Let me know.
Check it out. Check it out.
Yeah, there's over 1,800 different books you can check. You can check out, and you get one free audiobook download. So, check it out. audibletrial.com/talkitout. Also, don't forget to hit us up on our social media accounts: Facebook.com/talkitoutpodcast, Instagram.com/talkitoutpodcast,
or send an email.
Podcast@yahoo.com. That's the email. Yeah, shout outs.
Just add in the other shout outs to this one.
I want to shout out my family and friends who are always so supportive of me in this podcast. Yes. I want to shout out Joy and KT who have showed up and showed out on these podcasts, and I want to thank Tuesday who has not been here for like 2 months, but she's always helping us behind the scenes. And again, to everybody that comments and interacts with us, we love you and we thank you so much for the support. As of now, while we're recording this, which is October the 22nd, we have over 2,000 listens to our podcast, and we love it.
And I would like to give a shout out, since we're doing individual shout outs now. I would like to give a shout out to Tri-Image Cosmetics, who has supported me, and the owner has really supported me and given me everything that a big sister would need. Love you. Shout out.
Also, we're doing sponsorship. Yo, if you got a business and you want us to shout you out, let us know. Hook up. Go to talkitoutpodcast@yahoo.com and we can set something up. But yeah, that's pretty much
also, it. KT, since we're all doing our little businesses on the side,
yeah.
KT does art, and I'm going to be setting up a Instagram account and a Facebook account pretty soon.
KT does all the graphics for our podcast.
Yes, I do. And so I'm going to be setting up, because I paint and stuff, I'm going to be setting up a thing on Facebook and on Instagram, like I was saying. And you guys can go follow it. My paintings are really, really cheap. So just let me know if you like a painting.
Yeah, and we're all in can we give out our location? We're all in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yep.
So anything we've shouted out has been Memphis related.
Actually, I ship, and I take PayPal.
Ooh, I'm sorry. She got national business. Okay.
International soon. Just shouting it out.
All right. But yeah, this is Gabby.
KT.
Enjoy.
And this has been Talk It Out.